19th of August 25, and I'm just talking about Operation Raise the Colours, which is just some sort of organic thing started on social media where groups of men are flying the British flag, English flag up in lampposts up and down the country. But I think people are starting to do it in Scotland now as well. I don't know. The Scottish flag, you know, the flags of the countries or the United Kingdom flag. And who could be against that, you know? Because every British citizen is glad to be a British citizen. So everyone's glad to be a legal UK citizen. How could anyone be against the flag of the country? So it puts Labour and SNP, etc., in a difficult position on this, because I think their instinct would be to say it's a bad thing. Um, but we're talking about the flag of the country, so really. And also, these groups, they've organised on social media and that. I first became aware of it last Friday or Saturday through the Daily Mail, basically. Um, and it seems that it's organised men going about from either ladders, some have even got a cherry picker. They're putting up flags and lampposts. The national flag, whether it's the Union Jack or the flag of England, Scotland, Wales, I would guess. So, yeah. And of course, it puts leftists in a difficult position, you know, because everyone loves being a UK citizen, as far as I know, legal citizen, you know, and most of us were so, we've been such a high trust country that most of us don't even own a flag because we don't really feel the need, you know, we're in a high trust country, um, we don't really feel the need to even portray it visually in such a way, and I do wonder in homes where people have a flag. I mean, I'm talking not talking about people who maybe go to football matches and things because they tend to have flags, or if they the national England team or whatever. I'm talking about people who have a flag, say for non-sport reasons. Um, what flag do they have? You know, and why? You know, and I'm presuming everyone. I'm talking about all legal British citizens. Why do they have these flags? Are these flags flown? Where are they flown? On lampposts and stuff? Um, for what reasons are they flown? You know. But now we're talking about the Union Jack and the English flag and the Scotland flag. I mean, the Scotland flag is flown in some places. Some people think a lot of Scots think that, but it's not really. I mean, it's probably more than fly the English flag down in England. Because let's say, the, when we've been a high trust society, we've not really felt the need, you know. In Scotland, there's been a bit of the SNP underdog thing, you know. They feel, I mean, wrongly in my opinion, they feel a bit oppressed, you know. It's the Braveheart thing. So we have had a bit of Scottish flag flying here. Not that much really, though. I would say still 90% of Scottish homes don't own a flag. I'm talking about ones that would own a Scottish flag. I mean, so yeah, we've got that, but it is definitely more than probably have a St George's flag for non-sport reasons. I'm talking about, you know, or whatever. Yeah, so we've got this Operation Raise the Colours. I mean, to me, I was a bit worried about it at the start. It might turn out bit thuggish or whatever, but it's not turned to that at all. In fact, they even do litter picking, and I've got a channel on Twitter, even on X. Can't remember what it's called at the moment. I don't want to show it in case it gets taken down or something, you know. But yeah, and who could be against this, you know, flying the flag? Because everyone loves being a legal British citizen. Um, so, and the legal flag for Britain is a Union Jack, the St George's Cross, etc. So, I think this is the start of a new thing where we're going to see the flag a lot, and really all shows, are we united or are we an island of strangers, as Keir Starmer called, although a month later he regretted saying that speech, even though, so he said the speech in May and then he regretted it in June. I don't know if he regrets that term, but really you could regard this as a stress test. The idea is that we're going to be a utopia, and if you say that, you can get elected mayor, prime minister, get a knighthood, a damehood. If you're a bit anxious about that, you feel that that's maybe we don't really know yet. To any other spectrum, you can get the opposite end of the spectrum. You could get jailed probably, or put in a hate list, a non-arrested, non-questioned hate list. And then when you go for employment, the employers will be told that sort of thing. That's what goes on with the country at the moment. To me it sounds like Putin's Russia, but apparently our government and our police feel it's a great thing. So do councillors, etc. So yeah. So I'm just going to have a look at this. I was going to ask Gemini, but when I looked at it, I thought it was too biased towards what it was thinking. And so I checked Grok and I thought I gave a fairer assessment of this project. Yeah, Grok was fairer in my opinion. First of all, it knew what it was. I mean, I asked Google Gemini what's Operation Raise the Colours and it didn't know. It said, is this a military thing? We don't know. We know about tripping the colour, but we don't know. So Grok got it straight away. Operation Raise the Colours is an online movement in the UK where people are putting up St George's Cross and Union Jack flags across towns and cities like Birmingham, Bradford, Newcastle, Norwich and Tower Hamlets. It started gaining traction in August 2025. I mean, to me it started last week. And it must be the best peaceful protest ever I can think on this issue. Because it's very hard for the authorities to clamp down on it, which they usually do, because the authorities seem too woke to me, don't really represent the majority, the current majority. Yeah, especially the politicians at the top, the elite politicians. I think if there was an election today, well, apparently the polls say that Reform would win, say, 385 seats. Labour would be under 100. Tories would be like in the 20s or something. So that's how different it would be, but because we don't really live in a real democracy, we have to wait 4 years before we get another chance to vote for a party hamper, because we've got a party hamper system. Like I say, I think we should have the Swiss electoral system where we have referendums all the time, every quarter. You could have petition referendums, which they do over there as well, all that sort of thing. Because, yeah, I don't think we're a real democracy, really. You've got to be direct democracy, really. And on this issue especially, I think we should be voting on one issue, really. So it started gaining traction in August 25. So I only heard about it Saturday, I think, in the Daily Mail. I maybe heard something on a Friday, but it hadn't really occurred to me, well, there was a sort of national movement organised online, on Facebook, etc. But really, Daily Mail, yeah, because I heard that Tower Hamlets and the council were complaining about it. They were saying it's dangerous, and then I thought, what do they mean politically dangerous? What they were saying was because the flag could fall off or whatever, but sort of safety concerns. But the Palestine flags flying in these places for months from lampposts, and we've even had occasionally some person take it down, an individual take it down, and it's ended up back up. Probably not by the council, but with council approval. I think Tower Hamlets, that's Aspire Party, and if you look at the Aspire Party both visually and when you see understand their background, it's a nice Anglo word that they've picked, but we don't know how they feel in general about things, So activists were coordinating via social media, particularly Facebook, to gather flags and equipment like ladders to display them on lampposts and public spaces. And in my personal opinion, the next stage of this should be people flying the British flag or the St George's, the English flag or Scottish flag from their home. I mean, who can object to that? I mean, they do it in America quite a lot, the American flag. So who could object to that? Most of us haven't got a flag, you know. But it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of people that could then end up on a, what would you call it? On a non, non-law hate crime list for the police and employers for flying the British flag from your home. Because this is what the politicians have decided. We need these lists, and something like that would probably fit the bill. I don't know. But I think the next stage should be flying a flag from your home. You know, whether it's the Scottish flag, the English flag, the British flag, whatever you choose. Because there's no quote safety concern then. And of course we had that issue, say 10 years ago when Ed Miliband sacked Emily Thornberry from his cabinet because she complained about somebody on Twitter. She complained about somebody flying the British flag from their home. I mean, to me at the time I was thinking, well, it does look a bit thuggish, you know. It was sort of a white van man or something. It did look a bit thuggish to me in that, you know, but and that's of course what we're supposed to think when that. But when it comes to the crunch, it's a way of silent protest on this. We're all happy to be legal British citizens. The flag is Britain, and I have noticed on the TikTok videos where it shows you how to get to Britain, which there's loads of these videos easily to find. Security services can't seem to find them, or you know, anyone TikTok who are supposed to take them down. I don't know whether they are or not, but almost these videos will get the Union Jack and Buckingham Palace, a cartoon photo of Buckingham Palace maybe, that sort of thing. And then when the person has managed to make it to Britain, which is pretty easy to do, probably when they're on the transport here, they'll probably show the Union Jack and a flag that I presume they love of another country elsewhere. Most of the time I don't know what flag it is. And then when they're in the hotel, 4-star hotel or whatever, British government have put them in a 4-star hotel, they'll have the British flag and another flag which I presume they'll love. But the British flag is there at that point. But once they become British citizens, I don't know what happens to the British flag in their TikTok videos. Maybe that just vanishes and it's just the other flag that's left. I don't know. But anyway, they really love the British flag in these TikTok adverts. Not adverts, they're actually, I mean, they are acting as adverts, but they're actually, apparently, it's the person, is something really important to them, and it seems to be a victory to them. I don't know how, you know, if you're coming, because a few weeks after the hotel stay, once you end up in the system where you're almost definitely going to become, the government are going to make you British, you become homeless, officially homeless, you know, so I don't know what I'm talking about here now anyway. But anyway, I'm back on to this. It started gaining traction in August 25 with activists coordinating via Facebook, etc. I've seen it on X. To gather flags and equipment like ladders, yeah, this group will give you ladders, etc. To display them on lampposts and public spaces. And I'm guessing the main thing is you've got to behave nicely at all times. And also they do litter picking as well, so there's a real positive aim. Because we had big celebrations about India's independence from Britain and Pakistan independence from Britain last week in Britain by Brits. We had big massive flags, etc. and lots of dancing, men dancing in the streets of Bradford, etc. I wonder if they cleaned up the next day. They might have, you know, litter picking. I wonder if they litter picked the next day or not, or it was left to the council. Anyway, the campaign is framed as a patriotic effort to celebrate British and English identity. And really we need it now, really. You know, in the past I've thought We were high trust and we were homogenous. It didn't matter. And even for me in Scotland, it didn't really matter. I'm not got a flag. Um, but now it's a chance to celebrate being a legal Brit, really, with the legal flag, you know. Um, with some participants like the Rioli Warriors in Birmingham. Yeah, I've heard of these. The Rioli group, yeah. Young men, they're all behaving well. I think it may be Sparkbrook area or something in Sparkhill in Birmingham. They're putting up flags, raising over £11,000 to fund their flag displays. And personally, I would like anyone who is against it and prefers another flag. I would prefer like them to fly their flags from lampposts, and then we can see the situation. You know, we can see, because this is a way to see the situation. Keir said we were an island of becoming an island of strangers. Then he rejected his own speech a month later. I don't know how speechwriters feel about that. You know, personally, I think he's the only Prime Minister I've disliked. I find him devious. He's the only one. I mean, I find there are others very incompetent, etc. But I've always found him honourable. This one, him I find devious, especially the way he dealt with Jeremy Corbyn, etc. You know, he was in his cabinet for 4 years or something, or his shadow cabinet. Absolutely appalling. I don't think anyone likes him. I don't think the left like him, the far left, even his MPs. I don't like him, you know, but nobody trusts his judgment. Anyway, to fund the flag stays. Supporters, including, well, they're going to say that, yeah, claim it's about national pride. But really, you've got Rupert Lowe, Advance UK, and even the Prime Minister has issued a statement saying flying the flag is an alright, as a patriotic thing. He's not said from lampposts or whatever, but he's not said anything against it so far because he's probably too scared, you know. Um, Hopefully, this is a moment where traditional Labour voters all switch to Reform as a protest vote on one issue. That's what you've got to do at the moment. Advance UK are better on it, so I would vote them. Whoever could win a seat between Advance and Reform, really. But that's what you've got to do at the moment. So hopefully this will make that happen sooner. It's going to happen anyway with traditional Labour voters. All that will be left are the ones who are going to vote your party or Greens, etc. We're going to have a lot of independent new parties. Well, one or two or three independent new parties, because I think the new parties, they would like to be one group, but they might not be able to do that, so they'll go for umbrella groups. I can think of two big umbrella groups that's probably going to form. They'll be pretty exclusive because people will find, well, I can't vote for them because they don't want me. So we're going to have that sort of situation. And we're going to have your party, Jeremy Corbyn's party, which is inclusive for everyone. At the moment, it's Jeremy and 5 other MPs. What happens when Jeremy leaves, I don't know. But I mean, he's 75 now. Even George Galloway's saying he's too old, you know. And then Workers' Party will just fizzle out, I think, because the majority of those voters will go for another umbrella group, or they will prefer another sort of more exclusive group. But if they can't manage that, they'll go for an umbrella group, which is quite exclusive as well. So maybe your party will become that, I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, I'm on to this. However, claim it's about national pride with somebody finally painting roundabouts. I mean, I'm not sure about painting roundabouts, you know, in a way I think of that as vandalism to a degree in flag colours, even though it is the flag of the country. You know, it's not exclusive. It's very inclusive because it's for every legal Brit, etc. And vowing to replace any flags removed by councils. However, the movement has sparked controversy. Councils like Birmingham and Tower Hamlets have removed flags from public infrastructure, citing safety risks, e.g. adding weight on lampposts, or maintenance policies. And we even have a scene in Tower Hamlets where I think it was bin workers, or what locals might call waste men, I don't know, but two men were from the council were taking a flag down in Tower Hamlets, and one of them had a bandana on, and it was the national flag of Jamaica. So I don't know if he was making a statement with that, or was that council policy, or what, you know. Um, I think he was on official council thing because he had the high vis jacket on, etc. I think the police were standing there as well at the time, and they very much looked like modern London, you know. So yeah, adding weight to lampposts or maintenance policies. Critics, including local residents and figures like Robert Jenrick, the MP for the Tories, have accused these councils of inconsistent enforcement, pointing out that Palestinian flags were allowed to stay up longer in some areas. Yeah, months, years, I think. This has fueled claims of two-tier bias against British symbols. Yeah, that's totally correct. On the other hand, some residents and commentators argue the campaign has xenophobic undertones. Well, how can it be if it's a national flag? This is a stress test, in my opinion. A stress test of our togetherness. I mean, what communities who feel angry about it could do is they could start flying the British flag, the English flag. They can go, look at us. We're flying the British flag, the English flag, because we're legal British citizens. We love the country. Um, they might have other flags, we don't know, but they could do that. I mean, that's what could happen. Um, I would call that taking the situation into your own hands, really, you know. On the other hand, some residents, especially given its backing by blah groups, but why did it become a symbol of such groups? Why was that? I mean, we're talking about the flag of the country, and that's a situation we've got to really. So really, I think I'm in favour of it because it's a stress test of how the country is, really, and its association, etc. Like those outside migrant hotels in Birmingham, painted roundabouts were criticised as vandalism. Well, you know, I think I've got a point there with one resident at the moment. I think that I might change my mind though. Um, the government hasn't directly, because I think painted signs on roads are to do with safety, really. You know, I know that the English flag is it's just a bit of red cross. You know, you've still got a lot of white on it, but even still, the government hasn't directly addressed. I mean, like I say, fly your flag from your home. Really, go to that. Now. The government hasn't directly addressed the campaign, but a number 10 spokesman said Prime Minister Keir Starmer supports flying English flags as an expression of patriotism. Yeah, because they've started using it at the government's press conferences now, because they've got an official press conference room now that's Boris made, and it's got the British flag behind it, and Keir Starmer's continued that. Because remember, not that long ago, the British flag was maybe seen as a bad thing by Labour, you know, really. Um, Tony Blair sort of brought it back, but then it got taken away again, I feel. Though councils should make sensible decisions prioritising safety. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Keir Starmer supports flying English flags as an expression of patriotism, a number 10 spokesman said. Posts on X reflect strong sentiment, with some celebrating the campaign as a patriotic uprising, while others condemn councils for disrespecting national flags by letting them touch the ground during reform removal. Yeah, reform councils say they're not going to take them down. So that's good. I can see the point about safety as well, but that wasn't the case with Palestine flags. In Palestine, I've got a lot of sympathy for. I couldn't have more sympathy for them, but yeah. So the movement's origins are debated. Mainstream media often describes it as a grassroots patriotic effort, but critics like those on Broken Bottle Boys Substack argue it's driven by such figures laundering their rhetoric through vague patriotism framing. Either way, it's a polarising issue, with supporters seeing it as reclaiming national pride and critics viewing it as a veiled anti-immigrant anti-push. Everyone should be in favour of it though, you know. It's a stress test. Um, and like I say, those who are arguing against it can take the initiative and fly the flag themselves. Anyway, I think it should what people should do now is flying them from their homes. Um, yeah, so, and because there it's not a safety issue, it's the flag of the country. Everyone should love it. Yeah, so, and Robert Jenrick supports it really, I think, as far as I know. Reform support it, Nigel Farage, Robert Lowe, Restore, Britain, who else? Advance UK probably. So there's cover, you know. Um, I think it's about time that we understand who are we as Brits. Are we all united? This has turned out to be a peaceful way to show it. And the other really big thing this summer has been the Pink Ladies, you know, who have really made it difficult for female Labour MPs to complain about it, the Pink Ladies, etc. So those two things have really made it difficult. So it's a really interesting situation, and of course we want it all to be peaceful. The only thing I think you can do at the moment, really, well, apart from this, is these are two peaceful things: the Pink Ladies and protests, peaceful protests, and flying the flag. The only other things is you can vote for them as a single issue protest vote because we've never had a referendum on this. Just vote them as a. They're no use on this really. They're too mild, but it sends a message. So yeah, that's all I've got to say just now.